Can you hear me?
I hear someone.
Okay, it's me.
Okay, I lost myself too. It's Heather.
Heather, you're back as well? Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. And I
Oh.
assume the other one was Sandy?
I'm here as well.
And I think we lost Dean?
Yes, we just lost Dean.
Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order because we do have a quorum and everyone on council who is supposed to be here is here. So I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. And I'm going to take attendance. So Councillor Cross, are you here?
Here.
Councillor Olmsted
Present.
and Councillor Shipham.
Present.
Present. Sorry.
Oh, I see Heather.
Yep.
Okay. So does anyone have any written disclosure of pecuniary conflict of interest? Councillor Cross.
No.
Councillor Olmsted.
I don't think so.
Okay. And Councillor Shipham.
No.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is number 3, petitions and delegations. So we have one delegation request form from Nick and Kathy Moss of 238 Peddlers Drive, Mattawa. And they're requesting that, wondering if we could get permission to install a bus route sign at the end of Peddlers and Boundary Road. So that'd be the corner there, the four-way corner. So I think we have a motion on that.
Yes, under action letters, we will have a motion.
Okay. So we'll just let that one go for now. That's it. All right. Next up on the agenda, petitions and delegations. We had a letter from Mr. Kevin Grant regarding comments from the meeting we had on August 10th. So the email is in front of us here. It just goes on to say that there were some comments made, and he had some questions in regard to those. But I think we can discuss this later on under our action letters, right? So it's just that it's there, and the statement is factually incorrect and based on what information. I'm not sure the intent of this comment. Have this comment, but it may have been to lead into comments about restricting the use of the road. There's nothing but regular activities of a farming operation that occur on the road. The person that was doing the plowing before had a road agreement, as far as I know, and that person passed away. Now they have to plow the roads, and now they have to plow the roads themselves. That's where this issue seems to be coming from. I'm having a hard time following. I'm going to get mine out here. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to read it. And then when we get to the part later on in the action letters, we can discuss it at that time. Okay? So the email is directed to council, and it goes on to say this email is to educate council if they are not already aware about some of the incorrect comments made by Councillor Shipham. Council can only make decisions based on the information provided. I'm not sure it's providing Councillor Shipham with information, but some of it is incorrect. These quotes are direct from August the 10th, 2021 council meeting. The overall discussion starts at 26:15 minutes. and Council Shipman talks at 46.10 minutes. There was information that was correct, and she would include the following two quotes. There are two families living on it, Stewart's Road. It's a seasonal road, so there should be no one living permanently on a seasonal road. Both residents are full-time and have been for over a decade, and the grant have a final building permit that was issued by the municipality and no seasonal conditions. This is the correct statement, but is misleading to the public. Lori Boileau attends a council meeting in which Council Shipman was presented and explained that she was a seasonal resident. Was council going to address this issue? It would be unacceptable for council members to simply ignore this information and propose the idea that Lori Boileau is in a full-time residence after she appeared at a council meeting and told you otherwise. The incorrect comments are as follows. Because it is a seasonal road, we can't have all this equipment running up on the road 4 or 5 times or 6 times a day. This statement is factually incorrect and based on what information? I'm not sure the intent of this comment, but it may have been to lead into comments about restricting the use of the road. There's nothing but regular activities of farming operation that occur on the road. The person that was doing the plowing before had a road agreement, as far as I know, and that person passed away. Now they have to plow the roads themselves. That's where this issue seems to be coming from. No, that is not the issue. Although the two families living on the road have been plowing and maintaining, including additional gravel and box shaping the road for over a decade, they have also been removing ice and snow from it just to prevent flooding. When the municipality refused to prevent flooding, when the municipality refused to prevent flooding, the work has been shared by all the residents of the road over that time. The municipality never requested a roads agreement over that time and never had an issue with this maintenance until recently. No one from the municipality has reached out to have any conversations except Councillor Maxwell and Councillor Olmsted to ask any questions or understand what the issues really are. The reality is that the municipality doesn't have to perform winter maintenance. That's council's decision. What's unacceptable is unequal treatment of residents, or treatment versus that of our neighbor. Also, the idea that the municipality will prevent us from accessing our property or using our property as we have been for decades is completely unacceptable. That's the issue. Furthermore, there are these comments and the opinion of Councillor Shipman. Maybe we should be doing load restrictions for vehicles on seasonal roads. Maybe there should be permits for running commercial equipment up and down the road, Stewart's Road. These policies would be very unpopular in a rural community. They would have a very negative effect on farmers. I think the voters of Calvin would find these kinds of bylaws very unpopular. What would be the purpose of requiring permits for just Stewart's Road and not the other roads as well? This comment is clearly targeting the grants, use of their property specifically, and is completely inappropriate and should be retracted with an apology. It's disgusting to think that a council would make comments about permitting the use of a vehicle on one road targeting one resident. I'm assuming Councillor Shipman will correct the record for the public at the next regular council meeting. This letter is clearly in no way confidential. I request this letter email be included in the September 14th meeting so that these comments and questions can be discussed and further information is available to the public. So that's the letter that was submitted by Mr. Grant. And we can discuss that further on in the action letter. Okay. Next item on the agenda is reports from municipal officers, and Chris isn't with us tonight, right? Next item on the agenda is a report from Dean Maxwell, the Fire Chief. I see Dean's back, so do you have a report, Dean?
Yeah, can everybody hear me well?
I can, yes.
Great. So we had a pretty busy month for the month of August. We had 4 calls out. We had 2 MVCs, and then we had 2 nuisance calls, which I would call them, but we still have to respond to them. On August 14th, we had got paged out for flames visible near PMC Bay. We ended up having to go out with pumper, and it was just a resident burn a brush pile, but somebody felt the need to call it in. When we get these pages in, there's very little information, so I was kind of requesting that they'd stay there and kind of give us a little bit more direction. When we got there was nobody there, but we showed up on scene. It was he was burning a brush pile. The pile was pretty well out when we showed up, but it was going at one point. So somebody just driving by, that's the kind of calls we get nowadays. They people on their cell phone just call it in. So that one was a pretty well just a show and go. On August 16th, we had an MVC at 1:59 in the morning. They were traveling from Alberta heading to Montreal and swerved to miss a deer and ended up in the bush. Luckily, all patients were fine. Everybody was shipped to Mattawa and were released that same night. On August 18th, again, we got another call in for smoke near the tracks on Highway 17, near the Amapapo River where it runs out there. Again, this call was called in by somebody on their cell phone. Very little information. What it was the CP rail was changing tides and they were running the grader up and down the tracks. So it was creating lots of dust. It kind of looked like smoke. So again, pretty well just a show and go for us. On August 29th, we had a MVC rollover near Champlain Park. We were on scene for about 4 hours while the OPP did an investigation. The patient went to Mattawa to get checked out. The vehicle was in a rollover, so it was quite serious. But everybody was all right there. We got the scene cleaned up, and then we were back to our hall a little over 4 hours on that call. On August 5th, we did for training, for meeting nights, we did pumper training at Smith Lake, where we just give the trucks a run, and we just kind of prep the trucks for pump tests, which were done this month as well. So we run soap through all the valves just to lube them up and stuff. So it's all ready to go for pump testing. On August 12th, we did auto X drills in the inside here of the fire hall. It's a little cooler thing to do. We did some lifting exercises with the jaws here inside. So cribbing and lifting with the jaws, we did that night. On August 19th, we debriefed our calls and we did truck checks. On August 26th, the midnight, we set up for the Firefighters Appreciation Day. So this year I held it at my house. I hosted it at my house. So there was just some setup required, picnic tables, and we set up a tent because it was outside. For fleet status report, so all the trucks went for pump testing over in Papineau. All the trucks passed. There were some minor adjustments for pumper. There were some valves that needed to be adjusted, and PT1 as well. There's some adjustments that needed to be done. And there are actually some parts that were ordered for PT1 just to get replaced. And from Chief's report, so like I said, we had Firefighters Appreciation Day, this on August 28th, I believe it was. It was hosted at my house. So this year we had Chase Walls receive Firefighter of the Year, and also Bill Morton received a 10-year service badge. And then that's all we had for awards for this year. And then I just wanted to thank the Winch family. Eddie Winch passed away there, and his family had come by some forestry hose that he had in the garage, and that there was 2 piles. He donated 1 pile to Papineau and 1 pile to us. So that's something we can use, and we'll put it to good use. And just wanted to thank that, because for us, that's every little bit of hose helps, especially in big forest fires. So, and for the month of August, that's it. Any questions or?
Councillor Crop?
No questions.
Councillor Onside?
No questions. Thank you.
Councillor Shipham?
No questions.
Okay, good report, Dean. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jacob's not here tonight either. I can read his report if just so that the public is aware of it. Okay. So the report was prepared by Jacob Grove, Landfill Cemetery Recreation Manager and Municipal Enforcement Officer. In regard to recreation, so the tasks of this report are to map the municipal recreation area that are intended to prove council with the information on the underground utilities and distances from current facilities. This information is intended to aid council in a strategic plan and is being provided in advance of the next strategic plan meeting so members of council have adequate time to review it and prepare for the meeting. The underground utilities have been drawn in from memory. Appropriate locates would need to be obtained before digging. The measurements have been taken from CGIS and are intended to give a general idea on spacing. So I didn't see that map, so I think Jacob owes us that. So regular grounds maintenance is ongoing and there will be no issues to report. Weekly inspections of the Smith Lake boat launch and the Mabda River public assets have been ongoing. There are no issues to report and the garbage is being removed for both locations as needed. The doors and window frames at the rink building have been painted. There were some issues with the furnace locking out in early August. The annual servicing was arranged for August the 20th. During the servicing, they found 2 sensors that were faulty. These parts have been ordered, and a tentative repair date has been set for early October, when the parts are expected to arrive. Until the parts can be placed, the community center has no heat or hot water. Landfill, the last metal bin has been filled and shipped out. There were 29.05 tons shipped out, which generated $8,583.64 in revenue. There were 420 tires shipped out of the landfill site this month. In regard to the cemetery, regular grounds maintenance has been ongoing with no issues to report, and there is one burial scheduled for September the 17th. And in municipal enforcement, there were no new cases opened this month. Respectfully submitted, Jacob Grove. So next we have a report from Shane Conrad, our Chief Building Official. It's a written report. Looks like we've had one more permit issued, and a demolition, looks like. And it's a note on there that permit 02-2021 is still not picked up and no fee has been collected. Okay. Okay, so next item on the agenda is reports from committees, and there are none. Okay. After that, we have item A under action letters, minutes of the council meeting. We need to adopt the minutes of the August 24th, 2021 meeting. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder in order to do that. Councillor Olmsted, could you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Cross, could you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have a resolution moved by Councillor Olmsted and seconded by Councillor Cross that the minutes of the regular meeting of the council held on Tuesday, August the 24th, 2021 be hereby adopted and signed as circulated. Any discussion on that, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
And Councillor Shipham?
She's froze.
Oh, there's Councillor Shipham. Any
No
discussion on that, Rose?
No discussion.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to call this to a vote that the minutes of the regular meeting of August 24th be adopted and signed and circulated. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you very much. And next item is B, It's the bus route request by the Mosses. Do we have a resolution for that one? Okay, so I'll need a mover and a seconder on this one as well. Councillor Shippen, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Cross, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have a resolution moved by Councillor Shippen, second by Councillor Cross, that council hereby requests the road superintendent to purchase and install a bus route sign for the corner of Peddlers Drive and Boundary Road as requested by Mick and Kathy Moss. Any discussion on this, Councillor Cross?
I think it's a good idea to do that. I want to also extend a great thank you to them for putting up the signs on their property for slowing down and think of Adam. That they did that all on their own with their own money. So the least we could do is put up the sign for the bus. Sure, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Olmsted, any discussion?
Oh, I agree with what Sandy said, Councillor Cross said.
Okay. Councillor Shippen?
No, I agree.
Okay. I think it's a good idea as well. It'll, if it even makes somebody think that it's a bus route and will slow them down a little bit or be a little bit more careful, then it's a good idea. So I'm going to call for a vote on this resolution to proceed with the purchase and installation of the bus route signs. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Councillor Shippen? Do you
Yes.
vote yes or no? Okay, and I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried as well. Thank you. Okay, so next item on the agenda is item C. It's the comments, letter, email of August the 10th to council in regard to discussion at that meeting. Is there anything here you'd like to discuss, Councillor Cross?
Basically, all I would say is that I think that there's, in my opinion, everything in the letter is not completely entirely accurate. This council has always been open in our meetings to have residents come to address issues to the council as a whole. So that is what I would continue to put out there. Otherwise, Mr. Grant isn't here at the meeting, so I don't really have anything else to put towards the letter.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted, do you have anything you'd like to bring forward or say?
Well, I spoke to most of my constituents, and everyone agrees that we need to take care of Stewart's Road. It's the only seasonal road that we have full-time residents on, and we need to deal with it. For 30 years ago, we gave them a building permit, and it seems like it's cost a lot of money unnecessarily for lawyers' fees, etc. I would just like to resolve the issue.
Anything further, Councillor Olmsted?
I thought that it was a very well put together letter. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shippen, do you have anything you'd like to bring forward? Anything you'd like to say?
Yes, I do. I want to thank you for your comments on our discussion regarding Stewart's Road on the 10th of August. As a new councillor, it's important to me that I hear all sides of any issue so that I can make more informed decisions when required to do so. I invite you to attend our meetings in order to foster better understanding for all of us. Ironically, it was your son that first brought this issue to my attention when he showed up uninvited at my home prior to my interview or to my being appointed to council in an attempt to, what I can only assume was influence my opinion if I was selected as a councillor. Fortunately or unfortunately, I was not home at the time and he spoke to my husband. You indicate that both families currently residing on the road have been duly responsible for maintaining the road, but you then think we are treating you both differently. I am glad that you mentioned all the things that have been done on this road without a road agreement or a contractor's agreement. As shown in the documents attached to the agenda, you have known that a road agreement was required and you were recommended to enter into a road agreement, and to date have not done so. I'm also sorry that the bylaw has not been enforced up until this time, but two wrongs do not make a right. As I was not on council during that period, I must deal with what is, not what was. I do not believe that I am or was targeting one resident. And as you stated, there are two families on this road, not just you. This is a democracy. All statements and opinions are valid for discussion purposes, which is what we were doing during that meeting. No decisions were made at that time, except that we did not need to do anything with Stewart's Road. Maybe you could clarify a few points for me so that I have all the facts and opinions going forward. Again, you are more than welcome to attend a meeting to give your opinions to council. What kind of farming do you do on your property? I'm not a farmer, but do have relatives that farm, and none of them employ an excavator. My concern is that equipment like this vastly increases the wear and tear on our roads, any road they use, especially roads not built to sustain this type of traffic. This is not just for Stewart's Road, but for any road in the township. Your belief that these policies would be unpopular or very unpopular in a rural community seem to have no basis in fact, as there have been no other complaints or questions put to either the municipal office or to council. More complaints would have been fielded had the community been as upset as you seem to think they are. What I find unacceptable is the fact that you seem to think you're entitled to have this road upgraded at the expense of the municipality. Bylaw 2017-015, which came into effect on the 31st of October 2017, clearly states what needs to happen in order for the municipality to take over the upkeep of the road. You, the proponent, and 100% of the property owners who receive benefit agree with this undertaking. All of you are responsible for all costs associated with bringing the road up to municipal standards prior to the township taking over the road. I think that the voters of Calvin would find it very unpopular to have their taxes raised substantially just because you want this road upgraded at their expense. I find that I have no need to correct the public record, and I stand by both my comments, opinions, and all that I have stated here today and at the last meeting. You may also submit a complaint to E4M should you deem it necessary.
Okay, thank you. All right. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda. It's D, Councillor Dean Grant. Follow-up discussion from Mr. Dan Maxwell. There's a follow-up discussion from the August 24th regular meetings. Read Mr. George Tuff's suggestions. Councillor Maxwell's not here tonight. I'm sure that he had some points that he wanted to make and share with us. So if it's acceptable to you all, I'd like to know if we can defer this till our next meeting so that we can get input from everyone involved. I have some feelings on some of these items, but we don't have Councillor Maxwell, so if it's okay, can we defer it? I'm going to ask for each one of your opinions. Councillor Cross, your opinion, please.
Yes, there's some things that he had put here that I'm not quite sure, what he was talking about. So I think it's important that he's here to, so yes, defer.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted?
I do have several comments as well. And I do appreciate the fact that George Cuff came to our meeting. I'd like to thank him again. It was very informative. But yes, I would like to get involved in the conversation.
Okay. And Councillor Shiplin?
No, I don't have a problem with it. I think he should be here since he's the one that wanted to discuss it.
Okay, thank you. So can we put this on the next agenda, please, Cindy?
Absolutely.
Our next regular council meeting? Okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is bylaw number 2021-025. It's amendment to the employment and hiring policy to include matters of paper, truth, and reconciliation, September the 30th. Excuse me. When's our next meeting?
September 28th.
Okay. So this is first reading to modify our bylaw to include, okay. So this one here, am I looking at the wrong one? Okay. So being a bylaw to establish a hiring and employment policy for the Corporation of Calvin, to add the Truth and Reconciliation holiday to the list of statutory holidays recognized by the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin. So is there any discussion on this? Councillor Cross. Oh, I need a mover and a seconder. Okay, first things first. So Councillor Shipman, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Olmsted, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Okay, so we have this first reading moved by Councillor Shipman, second reading seconded by Councillor Olmsted. Any discussion? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Okay. Councillor Shipman.
No discussion.
Okay, I call for a vote on the first reading. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to accept the first reading?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no to accept the first reading?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no to accept the first reading?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So the first reading carried. Thank you. I'll need a mover and a seconder for the second reading. Councillor Olmsted, can you move this one, please?
Sure.
Okay. And Councillor Cross, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So this is the second reading of the bylaw to establish the new statutory holiday. Any discussion on this one, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
Councillor Shipham?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote on the second reading as well. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to accept the second reading?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no to accept the second reading?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no to accept the second reading?
Yes.
Okay. I vote yes as well. So the second reading is hereby carried. So if we do the third reading at the next meeting, do we have time for it to pass before September 30th? Cindy?
Yes, it'll be passed. It'll be included.
Okay. So does anybody want to proceed with the third reading or wait till the next meeting? Councillor Cross.
I'd like to wait.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted.
And me as well, I'd like to wait.
Okay. And Councillor Shipman.
Oh, wait.
Okay, so be it. We'll wait till the next, regular council meeting for the third reading. Thank you very much, everyone. Next item on the agenda is, East Nipissing Planning Board consent number 2021-23, Bridgen, okay? So we should have a resolution in front of us for this one. And I'll need a mover and a seconder for it before we can discuss it. Councillor Shipman, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Cross, could you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this, resolution moved by Councillor Shipman, seconded by Councillor Cross, okay, so whereas an application for consent number 2021-23 in the name of Bridgen has been filed with the East Nipissing Planning Board on land known as Concession 2, Part Lot 10, South of Calvin, to create a residential lot 17.13 acres approximately, located at the west corner of Homestead Road and Stewart's Road at 834 Homestead Road in the municipality of Calvin, Mattawa, Ontario, where Homestead Road is a year-round maintained municipal road and Stewart Road is a seasonally maintained road. Now, therefore, the Council of the Municipality of Calvin resolves that it is recommended that the East Nipissing Planning Board give provisional consent to this application, and the Public Works Superintendent must be contacted for entrance permit and for locate an entrance on the retained piece of property required, as well as if a new entrance is required for the severed piece that is different than the existing entrance off Homestead Road. A copy of the completed survey for the lot addition shall be provided to the municipality in both digital format and hard copy. So we had a mover and a seconder for this one, did we? I think. Yeah. Any discussion on this? Councillor Cross.
No, just the fact that this was deferred from our last meeting, and the reason why I wanted to see it deferred was because I believe that everything we do going forward and in the past should be completely accurate, and there was some things on there that wasn't accurate, and that was the only reason why I really wanted to see it deferred. Was we shouldn't be passing things unless it's completely the way it's supposed to be. But otherwise, everything looks good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Enscott?
No discussion. And by the way, my internet is unstable. It just flashed up.
Okay. So if you go off, you're going to call in, are you? Yes? Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll wait a few minutes if you happen to get bumped off, okay? So,
thank you.
Councillor Shipman, any discussion on this resolution?
No, I don't have any discussion. The
Okay.
deferment was because, as Councillor Cross said, there was some things that were missing and didn't make any sense, so.
All right, so I'm going to call this resolution to a vote then. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to accept this new information on this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes as well, so this resolution is passed as well. Thank you. Okay, so our next item on the agenda is report from the clerk treasurer. It's a response from the planner, re the zoning bylaw questions. There was quite a few in here that were pretty interesting. I think he answered most of them. So was there any in here that people had a question about? or a concern with? Do you want me to go 1, 2, 3, or overall? Okay, let's do 1, 2, 3. Councillor Cross, 1, 2, 3, or overall?
Overall.
Okay, Councillor Shipman, no, Olmsted, 1, 2, 3, or overall?
Overall is good with me.
Okay.
Overall.
And Councillor Shipman, do you want to do 1, 2, 3, or overall?
Overall is fine.
Okay, thank you. So Councillor Cross, do you have any ideas or concerns or thoughts?
No, the answers based to all of them were satisfactory.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted.
Number 4. It says it's council's decision, but not wise in a residential setting to have a 40-foot CCAN, but we're not residential, we're rural. It said it would be out of character, compare it to a garage. When would you see a 40-foot garage? I see them all the time. We're in the country, so I still would like to stay to the 40 feet because we all agreed on that last time, if I remember correctly.
Don't recall agreeing to that, but we might have.
No, we did.
Councillor Shipman? So the only one you have a concern with is number 4, Councillor Olmsted?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Shipman?
Number 7, only because it could lead to a shortage of the aggregates and cost us more money in the future. That's a little like concerning, only because we keep trying to save money, so I don't know that we want to be getting rid of something that could save us money in the future.
I
Cindy would like to say something.
But see, Cindy has her hands up. Do you have something you would like to say, Cindy?
I would just like to clarify maybe a little bit the areas, the MX areas, the aggregate areas that we're looking to remove already have homes in the area. And so if anyone would like to build in these areas, it doesn't seem fair to have anyone new coming into the area have to do a whole bunch of environmental, thousands of dollars worth of environmental studies when there's already houses in the area. That's the reason we're suggesting that some of the MX areas be removed. I'm not in disagreement with the planner in terms of, yes, it could potentially lead to a shortage of aggregate, et cetera. But the ones that we're looking at, the ones that were circled on the map that was provided to council, there's already homes in those areas. So it's more looking at fair to new people coming into the area and wanting to build a home in a particular area that already has homes. The 1 kilometer, word is escaping me at the moment, the area around the MX zone, so there's a 1 kilometer zone. If anyone is within this 1 kilometer zone area of the MX zone, they have to do environmental testing, which could potentially cost them thousands of dollars, when the other people that are already living there didn't have to do them. That's all we're looking at here, is trying to be fair to new people coming in. Why do they have to do environmental tests when there's already people living there?
I think there's one right at Frenchtown, what they call Frenchtown, is that correct? might be owned by Mr. Lojang, or I'm not quite sure who might own that one.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where you're talking about. If you mean on Highway 630,
Yes.
yes. And
Just when
so,
you round the corner and you come up over the hill before you get to Booth Road there, on the other side of the highway 630, there's a pit there, right?
right,
It's got a blockage across the driveway.
correct.
So am I correct in assuming that anybody who wanted to build within 1 kilometer of that would have to meet the criteria? So
Right.
anyone wanting to do anything on Booth Road or on Highway 630 within 1 kilometer of that would be subject to those regulations?
That's correct, yes.
So I guess the question is then, is it only these 1, 2, 3 areas that we're concerned about? That the 3 areas that are on the map? I don't know if everybody had a chance to look at the map.
Those are the areas that we're suggesting council wants to look at, maybe not having as MX zones because of the the homes in that area that already exist. It doesn't mean council has to remove them. Council can choose to keep them in place. It's just, then we're gonna have to implement that if somebody decides to build something in that area, they're gonna have to do those environmental tests as per our,
So we can't do, if we choose not to remove them, and if someone decides they would like to purchase a lot or already has a lot and wants to build a residence or a camp, whatever, either probably on Crooked Chute Lake or on Smith Lake or someplace along the road there, do we have the ability to do a deviation from the plan in order to allow that, or like a zoning change for that, or do we have to? I can see if we do it once, we got to do it for everyone. So
somebody can submit an application for a zoning amendment, yes. But yes, in terms of what you just said, if you do it for one, you kind of have to do it for everybody. So if you're going to exempt them, yeah.
So removing, I'm not trying to stump you or anything like that. So if we remove the MX zone, are the owner of the pits allowed to still run the pits?
If they want to run it as a pit, they have to register it, and that's something completely different. That's run by the province.
Okay. So, like, I'm thinking there's one up on go across the tracks going out towards Highway 630. There's a road to the left that goes uphill. There's some kind of a sand pit up in there that the gentleman from, well, I think he's bought pretty much all the pits around that uses. So he wouldn't be not allowed to use that pit as long as it was a registered valid permit for the pit?
If he registered the pit, then it's my understanding that as long as he registered the pit for commercial use, he could use it as such.
Okay. So then, okay, I don't see why we wouldn't remove those. If the pit operator is not going to be harmed, like, financially by doing so, then I think it's probably a good thing for anybody who wants to develop our area or in our area, that they are not subjected to additional charges or fees or funds or surveys or examinations that could take longer and cost more money for them. That's just my humble opinion. So that's my thoughts. I don't know what we need. we need some kind of a decision to go forward though, right?
Correct.
Okay, so let's go back to number 1. So, minimum of 1,000 square foot building. That wasn't a concern for anyone because we have the tiny homes or whatever.
Yeah.
Since we indicated tiny homes, so that shouldn't be a problem any longer, right? Is that correct,
Mhm.
everyone? Yeah? Okay. So
Can I,
that one there we can do.
Mr. Pennell,
Yo. Yes.
can I just clarify? So council wants that removed?
A minimum of 1,000 square foot building?
Yes.
Yes.
They want the
Okay.
minimum removed.
Yes.
So the way I read it, why is there a minimum limit on the size of the building since we have indicated that we will accept tiny homes? Is this a moot point now? So am I missing something?
Yeah.
We don't need 1,000 square foot minimum anymore because we.
Well, he says he has
there
no, I'm sorry.
needs to be a separation between a normal home and a tiny home. Is that why we would do this? A definition?
No, there's a stipulation in the current version, the new version of the zoning bylaw that says there's a minimum
Okay.
of a square, so based on the fact that council decided, at least that's
Yes.
what I'm hearing, that this is a moot point because we're also accepting tiny homes, that minimum 1,000 square foot home the minimum requirement should be removed. That
Yes.
council wants.
I agree with that.
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Is the tiny home classified as a tiny home though? Like, does it make a distinction because of the square footage?
Tiny homes are classified in the building code. If you want to know specifics about building code and what is classified under that, I would have to contact our chief building official. But I do know from conversations I've had with the chief building official, tiny homes are classified by certain criteria within the building code.
Okay, so I'm curious to know what square footage is considered a tiny home.
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I know it's less than 1,000 square feet.
Okay, so we'll have to determine that one. All right. What classifies a tiny home if there's a square footage involved? Then the next one, number 2, we need a better description of a seasonal dwelling. There's too much confusion regarding what constitutes a seasonal dwelling. Can we make some parameters on what a seasonal dwelling is? I.e., is it insulated? How long can someone stay in it? Can we cross-reference to the building code as one option? Installation, adding a timeline is trickier, but can be done. So are we looking to develop a better description of a seasonal dwelling? Do we want to proceed with that? No one brought it up, so that's why I'm asking. Councillor Cross.
I believe that, I think the building code makes that distinction, and that's not anything to do with municipality.
Okay. He's saying here we can cross-reference to the building code as one option is insulation, all right? Okay, so there might be other options there as well, I don't know. Councillor Olmsted, do you need a better description of a seasonal dwelling?
No, I just follow the building code, like you said.
Okay. Councillor Shippen?
No, I think the building code should be fairly straightforward as to
Okay.
what would be.
So are you okay to go with the building code, Councillor Cross?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so number 2, we can leave it as it is. 3 is clarification on clause 4.1.1.10. Deck is not an accessory use unless detached from a dwelling. Is it an addition then? We have always classified as an accessory when setting the fees for a deck. It is not an addition if it is attached, and it is not an accessory if it's attached. So it's detached, right? So it's not accessory use unless detached. Okay, so this is a really wild question. I read it a whole bunch of times. A deck is not an accessory use unless detached from its bond. So it's not an accessory unless it's detached. We have always classified it as an accessory. The fee for a deck is not an addition if attached, and it's not accessory if attached, and it's not accessory unless it's detached. Okay, so it's not an accessory unless it's detached, right? That's what it says?
Yeah.
Okay. That's clear as mud. Clarification of clause 2.1.10.2. That's the one that Councilor Olmsted brought up. Are we only allowing 20-foot storage containers? Council would like to allow up to a 40-foot storage container. It's council's decision, but not wise, and this is our planner's response. It is council's decision, but not wise in a residential setting. Will be out of character compared to a garage. When would you see a 40-foot garage in a residential setting? Okay? So that's up to us to determine what we want to do here. Do we want to allow a 40-foot storage container or not, basically? So we're allowing 2 20-footers. So it sounds like we're saying we can do either 2 20s or 2 40s. That's what this reads to me. I know we already can't put it in front of your house, but I'll leave it open to you guys to discuss. Councillor Cross, your thoughts?
We are rural. This is not a residential area. As long as it's not, right out in front, an eyesore, it shouldn't matter if it's 20 or 40, as long as, all of the requirements are being followed on how it's supposed to be set on, or I don't see why we should restrict it to 20 foot.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted, your thoughts?
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Councillor Shipp?
The only thing that I'm thinking is it's either 2 20s or 1 40, not 2 40s. But other than that,
Can I add something?
Yes.
A lot of people use them to store their implements in for their farming, and 20 feet, it's only going to hold on to one thing.
So
if you take a rake or a baler, it's a 20 foot's not long enough. So you usually put hay in one and your implements in the other. 20 foot doesn't fit the equipment. And we are farmers.
Some people are, yes. I don't want it to be an eyesore from the road. That's my only concern with it, right? I can understand people have different needs or wants for the containers. But I'm just concerned that you got one on both sides of the house kind of thing. I can understand the, so, I'm in agreement to 240s as well, as long as they're kept in the back, like out of the front yard. Okay. Third one, I think we got 3 for that one.
Yep.
Okay, so clarification of 4.1.10.10 and 4.1.11.10. A storage container shall meet the requirements of the Ontario Building Code. What does this mean? Do they need a permit? Does it need to be anchored, or does it need to have an engineer's stamp? It is up to the building official to determine code requirements, just like a dwelling. Must be structurally sound, and depending on size, may need a foundation. Again, it is an issue for public safety, and the opinion of the building official is required, including whether he or she thinks an engineering stamp is required. So I'm thinking that, and I don't know, I was talking to one resident who purchased 2 of these, and he was looking at putting a roof over top of them both. And he had talked to a building inspector, and the building inspector told him that they couldn't add anything to the outside of the building unless it was engineered, like a drawing. So I don't know if this is what this is referring to, or if it's referring to someone getting a storage container and putting it on their property and putting their side rake in it, right? Or 10 bales of hay. I don't know the what it's referring to.
Neither.
If it's for to live in or for an accommodation, I would agree. But if it's for like to store hay or maybe farm implements, like you said, I don't know if I would agree with that, but that's just me. Councillor, what's your thoughts on that?
I agree with you.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, maybe he's talking about making it into a house, because some
I don't
people are
know.
doing that. I don't know either, but I mean, if you're just putting hay or, inanimate objects in it, I don't think we should have to put it on a platform or, that sort of thing.
Okay. Cindy?
So, you're not allowed to live in a sea can,
Right.
period, unless it's engineered. That's
Right.
according to the building code. So that's a
Yes.
non-issue here. That's not what they're talking about.
Okay.
What we're trying to get
Okay.
is clarification of what this statement actually means. Because, like council is discussing right now, nobody knows what it means. That's what we're trying to get at. We're trying to make the zoning bylaw clear as to, so does this mean if someone puts a storage container on their property, they have to get a building permit and the building official has to look at it to make sure that it's structurally sound? These are, I'm not saying that that's what needs to be done. What I'm saying is that what this question or what this statement means? Because all it says is it has to be according to the building code. That doesn't, this question came from the building official, and he wants to know what does he have to do? So do people have to tell him every time they get a C-can so that he can go and look at it? So that's what he's unsure what this statement means. We're trying to get clarification.
Yeah. I don't think we should have to do that. That's kind of like too much administration. If you're going to be living in it or adding something to it, yeah, you have to get an engineering stamp or design, but just, my thought is you're just getting one to put on your property to, I don't know, use it for storage or something like that, then I don't think you should have to have the building department involved. But again, Councillor Cross, your thoughts, please?
Well, since nobody really knows what the statement means, why don't we ask the person who wrote it?
Okay.
That's
would
what I
that not be, I'm trying to remember his name, the one that
Tenner.
wants to retire,
Mr. Tenner?
Tunic.
yes,
Yeah, Tenner, that's
do we
right.
not ask him what this is, what this means? Did he not write it?
Yeah,
This is his response.
This is his response. Oh,
Everything in black, bold, is his response. I asked him these questions, because these are the questions that council had from the last discussion.
yeah.
These
Yeah,
are his
okay.
responses.
Okay, so now the building official is now wanting to know from us what this determines then.
Well, not necessarily from council, but he wants clarification. So if someone comes into the municipal office and has been reading the zoning bylaw and sees that this statement says it has to be according to the building code, what do I say to them? What is our chief building official? So do we start asking them questions? What are you going to use it for? What does it mean? Like, we're trying to get this so that it's clear for the lay person to read, not the planner to read. You
I don't think
understand
it's
what
there then.
Pardon?
But I don't think it should be there then. Just remove it.
Either that or put a stipulation like it has to meet the building code if you're going to put anything on it, or if you're going to live in it, or if you're going to whatever. I think it just needs to be clarified what this means. This is only my opinion. I'm only sharing my opinion and the opinion of the chief building official, because we're trying to make this very clear to the public.
I understand, Cindy, what you're saying, because it is very vague, but the answer we got from Mr. Turnock is very vague as well. So, if the answer from Mr. Turnock is vague, that puts us in a pretty weird position. So, I would like to make it simple, closest to safety as possible. I'm not willing to tell our residents what they can put inside their sea cans as long as it's safe. I don't know if we should be starting to put those types of stipulations besides the bare minimum. So make it as simple as possible. So yeah, obviously you're not allowed to live in a sea can. So if we make that clear, do we want animals living in sea cans? Is that okay? I don't think it is, personally.
That's my question. So I understand your concerns, Councillor Cross. It's just, who determines what is safe then?
I would probably have to say it'd be between council and the building official.
Councillor Shipham?
Maybe we should put a stipulation in there that says that if the sea can is being used for any type of dwelling, be it for animals or humans, that it needs to be up to the building code requirements, structurally sound, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, that's an option. I like that one. So
And
we
then
already have a bylaw determine where we're gonna put these things, right? Or they can't be out in the front of your house. We've decided that we're going to allow 2 40-footers. And if we say that, nothing's going to live in them, whether it be human or animal, but I don't know if that's, I don't know what to do. I don't know what people are using them for. Cindy?
So just for clarification, and I have the version of it right here. It says, no storage containers shall be used for human habitation unless the construction meets the requirements of the Ontario Building Code for residential occupancy. So that's already stated there.
Is that one of these clauses here?
Yes, it is. So instead of 1.4.1.10.10, it's 4.1.10.3.
Okay. Okay, so that's already determined in there. Right, so.
It doesn't say anything about animals, it's just humans. So we can ask them to amend it to say animals as well, if that's what council wants.
If we want one,
Yes, if you want.
right.
Just, can I ask a question of Ms. Olmsted? Because I don't know anybody who uses SC cans for animals. Do you?
No,
Councillor Olmsted? Okay,
no.
okay. I just don't want to be getting, some farmers mad because we just took away their ability of putting animals in a food can.
I don't know of any.
Okay. I wouldn't think they would. I wouldn't think it would be safe, but I don't believe that we need to, because in here it says, do we need a permit? I don't believe we should be asking for a permit for them to have a food can. I know that we said that we could give them a variance if we request more than 2, depending on what you're using it for. I don't see how a C-can would need to be anchored. Yeah, I don't have anything further to put towards this. I'm stumped.
Anybody else have anything? Councillor Shipman?
Because it seems that all of our concerns are covered in a different portion of this bylaw or zoning, maybe we should just
Official plans.
get rid of it. Take it out. Add the animals to the human thing and take this one out.
There's already the .3 there that says about you can't live in it, right?
Right. So if we add animals to that and take this one out.
I'm for that. Anybody else?
I'm
Councillor
good.
Cross?
Yes, I'm for that. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Olmsted?
I agree.
Councillor Shipman has agreed already. I agree. Okay. Okay, so this one here was about the fence height.
Yeah.
And council's call on what you think is the safe height. So 4 foot, 5 foot, I don't know. 5 foot seemed like a money grab to me because you can't use an 8-foot board. You have to go to a 10-foot board, which is more money. 4 foot has, if you want to get over a 4-foot fence, you can get over a 5-foot fence, right? So I think the 4 foot is sufficient, but your thoughts, Councillor Cross?
I agree. I think this is mostly for safety for children that are young and short. And like you said, if there's a willing to get over it, they will. I don't see how 1 extra foot is going to really change that. We are in a rural area. I do believe that safety does come first, but an extra foot, not even an extra full foot. So, yeah, I think it should be stay at 4 feet.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted?
I agree. Stay at 4 feet.
Councillor Shipham?
Stay at 4 feet.
Okay, I agree with the 4 foot. Okay, the MF zones is, we talked about that already, right? Did we come to a decision on that? We're going to, no, we didn't? Okay.
Oh, I thought we
I
did.
thought we were gonna remove those MF zones for those, ones that you had highlighted on the map. And if anyone wanted to, build there, they could do that without incurring that, expense and, work they would have to do to get their, lot approved. And it shouldn't, harm any of the pit owners if they are, a registered pit. So we wouldn't be doing any harm to anyone. Councillor Cross, your idea, your thoughts?
I agree as long as the pit owners are aware and that they are registered, because I wouldn't want to pass something now without them knowing if they hadn't registered it, because we shouldn't be, putting them at a losing money as well. But I don't want to see people have to spend money to have a environmental test done. So it makes sense to remove it as long as the people who own that property are aware. So if maybe before we do it, we inform them.
Okay, I believe a few years ago the government asked pit owners to give them a certain time limit to register their pits.
Okay.
So I'm thinking if they didn't do that, then they'd have more issues than just dealing with the municipality. I don't know if that's correct or not, but I remember signs going up at pits saying who owns the pit and that sort of stuff. Can we find out if that is correct, Cindy? Or do you know if that is correct?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I'll find out.
I'm just about positive that happened a few years ago.
Okay, if it is, then it's a go ahead for sure.
Okay, so let's find out first though, okay? Before we go down a road that might not need to go down. So number 8 is under the rural zone permitted uses. It says a garage, municipal. Does that mean people can't build a garage for storage on a vacant lot? And the answer was no, because a garage is an accessory use and can't be an accessory to a vacant lot or built before the main unit is built. However, a garage could be permitted as a temporary building in advance of construction of a permanent home, provided an application has been made for the permanent home, or at least the foundation. Bylaw needs to be worded as such. We have used this option elsewhere, where a conditional permit is issued and a conditional legal and binding agreement is entered into. Your thoughts, Councillor Cross?
I'm fine with this as long as it's binding that, somebody doesn't start, building a garage and decides just to live in it permanently. We wouldn't want that situation to happen, would we?
Right. Cindy?
I just want to clarify that I think Mr. Tunick misinterpreted the question, because what he stated is absolutely correct, and it's stated throughout the zoning bylaw that you can't build a garage, and then exactly what he's just said. What the question is it says garage dash municipal.
Okay.
So does that mean it has to be a municipal garage? Since when does the municipality build garages on private property? That's the question. Why is it a municipal garage?
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know why that word would be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
before council goes through a whole discussion about this, That's what the question was, not whether you could build a garage on a vacant lot and what he's explained there. What he's explained is absolutely correct, and it's throughout the zoning bylaw. The question was, why does it have to be a municipal garage?
Okay, so,
In all honesty, I think it's an error, is really what I think, but don't know.
Yeah, it should be removed.
Yeah,
everything is correct from after the word municipal, right? Right?
Yes.
You agree? Okay. So if we take out that first part, is everyone in agreement? Councillor Cross?
Take out what first part?
Under the rural zone permitted use, it says garage/municipal. Okay, we
So
take out
municipal.
just,
Yeah,
Did you say yes, Councillor Cross?
yes, yes.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, take out municipal.
Councillor Shipham? Your
yeah,
thoughts?
take out the word municipal and we'll be good.
Okay. Thank you. 9, same as above, only under permitted accessory uses. Same response. We want to get rid of that municipal, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's in number 9 or number 10. But basically the idea is that you can't just build a garage. You have to have an agreement to move forward with a dwelling, or at least a foundation for a dwelling. And it has to be a legal permit that's binding, okay? So is everybody in agreement to this now? My lights are flashing.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's this then, all right? 10, that was the last one. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So the next item on the agenda is report from the clerk treasurer. It's 2021 CT46 social media policy review. Okay. And it's basically comments on the on what can happen on the social media sites. Any thoughts on this, Councillor Cross? There were basically 3 bullets.
I agree with, well, the one kind of answers the other one. I believe that Cindy would be the administrator to all of these things, and if there was an undesirable comment that she would erase it immediately, because we don't promote that kind of stuff, and I believe councillors should follow the policy and not make any comment. So I don't know what else you could add to the social media policy.
Okay. There's kind of 2 different things here, right? Okay, Cindy?
Just for clarification for council, so just to answer the questions that were asked here, is the Facebook and Twitter account sites anyone can put comments on? Yes. People can put comments on them.
Yeah.
Are we able to remove desirable comments from these pages if necessary? The answer is yes. As Councillor Cross stated, I or my designate, as per the social media policy, can remove undesirable comments from either of our accounts. Councillors should have to follow this policy as well as making comments on any social media page. That's councillor behavior, councillor comments, councillor anything is not included in this social media policy. This social media policy is based solely on municipalities' social media accounts and how staff regulate and post things, et cetera, on the municipal social media accounts. If council wants to regulate how counselors comment and things like that on these social media sites and or any other social media sites, a different policy would have to be developed. It was discussed at the time when this policy was being put into place, and at the time, council decided they didn't want to have a special policy on how counselors could or could not comment on social media. Other municipalities do have some restrictions for how counselors are allowed to do this, but it was decided at the time when we were discussing this and implementing these social media accounts that council at the time did not want to put a policy in place for counselors. Just for clarification, and just so that everybody's on the same page.
Okay,
I'm done.
all right. Thank you. Any further comments, Councillor Croft?
No, I believe that we should have, I believe our staff is held by a social media policy. I do believe that council should be as well. It doesn't take away from their freedom of speech, but it ensures that we're following the code of conduct. And also, I mean, when decisions are made in council, that we all are supposed to support them, whether we like them or not. And if we go on social media afterwards and bash the decision that we've made, that is a conflict. So, do we avoid E4M investigations by trusting that we won't do this, or do we make a policy? That is something that I guess everybody has to decide.
Anything further, Councillor Croft?
No, nothing.
Councillor Olmsted?
I think it's unnecessary. We are already bound by the code of conduct.
Okay. Anything else?
I agree
No?
that Cindy should be able to remove undesirables and leave it as it is.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shipley, your thoughts?
I agree that Cindy should be able to remove the comments that are undesirable and all of that. But I also, after listening to George Cuff and some of his statements, that council should be, you can be against each other and talking about your differences of opinion and everything when you're at a council meeting, but once you leave, everybody's on the same page. Everybody either approved it or everybody disapproved it, and it's a cohesive unit, and that's the way it has to stay. And I think that councillors should be made to follow, and maybe it should be put in our code of conduct. I don't know where, but there should be some type of policy regarding how and what is put on any social media platform when you are a councillor.
To be clear, we haven't had a problem with that so far, have we?
I have no idea.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
I don't think so.
So, is that part of our procedural bylaw then, Cindy?
No,
No? Okay.
that would be something different. The procedural bylaw has to do with how meetings are run.
Okay. Okay, so I don't know how we would police that unless it was seen by someone. There's a lot of sites out there. There's probably a lot that we or I don't know about anyway, that might have people commenting, councillors commenting. I'm not sure. But I agree with Councillor Shippen and Mr. Cuff that during a discussion, in a council meeting, that everyone's giving their opinion, and debating the issues, and then when you come to a vote on it and you vote one way or the other, then it's a democracy type thing, and everyone has to agree that it was a democratic vote, and that's the way it is, right? And you support the decision of the rest of your councillors. So I don't know where we would put that. Yeah, I don't know where that would go. Cindy?
A statement such as similar to what you just said is in the code of conduct.
Okay. Okay, so we don't need it then. Right? Okay.
So, sorry, just for clarification, so what I'm hearing is the current social media policy in regards to our social media accounts does not need to be changed. The review has been completed by council and it does not need to be changed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is the report from the clerk treasurer, 2021 CT 45. That's a consolidation of comments, ideas for procedural bylaw. There was this was provided to us in a councillor package last week, and we all had the option to go through it. There were some suggestions here that were made by members of the council. There were some that were made by staff. I guess we need to go through this one at a time because I see that there's a couple of questions in here that have to be answered, and they won't be answered unless we do that. We'll start first bullet. Change the agenda to no longer include old or new business. Other suggestions are to have unfinished business, and the item must be listed similar to the reports from the municipal officer section, with only those items to be discussed. So my thought on this is you don't want it to be a free-for-all, again, like the old and new business was, but it will be an unfinished business that people would need to submit a topic to Cindy, the clerk treasurer, prior to the agenda being sent out, so that everyone knows what that discussion is about, so that if you need to do research on it, you can do so. That's my thought. Councillor Cross, your thoughts, please.
I agree.
Councillor Olmsted. Okay.
I agree.
Councillor Shipham, your thoughts?
I agree.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so clause 1.24, 1.25, 1.26 from the current procedural bylaw remain in the proposed new procedural bylaw so that new councillors are aware this is not acceptable and you can say something. That's like point of order, that sort of stuff in a council meeting. So I don't know if you've read through at those points to see what they were or not, but I agree they should remain there. If they weren't there, then the leader of the meeting could ride roughshod over the meeting, and no one would be able to stop them. And it is not just the municipality of Calvin that can do this; like it's a municipal thing, right? Any council can raise concerns. So your thoughts, Councillor Cross?
I agree as well.
Councillor Olmsted?
I agree.
Councillor Shipham?
I agree.
Okay. I feel like I'm putting words in your mouth, and
You're not.
Okay. So clause 3.4, item 1 from the current procedural bylaw remain in the proposed new procedural bylaw so that new councillors are aware they must do homework and prepare for meetings, okay? So you can't just get your counselor package and throw it on the table, and then when the council meeting starts, you open it up, right? You're supposed to take a look at it. Maybe there's something you want to look up on the internet or in a book, just so that we can have a productive meeting with good conversation and make a good decision. All right. So, Councillor Cross, your thoughts?
Oh, sure. I agree.
Okay, and Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, that needs to say, yep.
Okay, and Councillor Shipham?
No, it needs to stay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next one is 3.4, item 7, from the current procedural bylaw. Will remain in the proposed new procedural bylaw so that new councillors are aware it is their duty to attend all meetings, unless you have a significant reason why. I think everyone would be in agreement to that. If not, say something. Okay?
We already have a policy in place, right?
Yeah. 3.4, 7. Yeah. Item 3.4, item 7 from the current procedural bylaw remain in the proposed new procedural bylaw. 3.4, item 7, that's the one above. So I'm not sure what the difference is.
Oh, it's just in there twice.
I think they're the same, is that correct?
Yes, I'm just checking here, maybe I typed
I have my procedure here, but not electronically.
want to make sure I didn't make a typo, that's all.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be item number 9, not item number 7.
Okay. I don't know what that item is then. Let me look. .7, number 9. I don't have that. Did you find it, Cindy?
No, not yet. Oh, so duty of counselors, 9 is to act in accordance with their oath of allegiance and oath of elected office.
Okay. Okay, so I believe that should remain there. Would you agree, Councillor Cross?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yep.
And Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Somewhere in the proposed procedure bylaw, that once the resolution and/or bylaw is passed or rejected, councillors are obligated to support the decision of council whether they agree with it or not. This needs to be done in a public as well as at meetings. Okay, so we just kind of discussed that just a few minutes ago. Next item here is passing a bylaw must be done over the course of at least 2 meetings, with limited exceptions for those bylaws that have a time constraint on them. Okay? I think that's reasonable. Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yep.
And Councillor Shipham?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it's clause 2.7 of proposed procedural bylaw. When and how often will a clerk or deputy clerk be allowed to attend a meeting electronically? That's never happened, until COVID came along, and we're all attending meetings electronically. But I didn't see, it just said that, they may attend electronically, but it didn't give a number of times, right? Any comments, Councillor Cross?
No comments.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, that can just be taken out, right? As we made a new policy for electronic meetings.
Or we don't specify the number of times as we have in the current procedural bylaw, right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
says
you're right.
that they are allowed to do it.
Mhm.
I don't know who put that question in there. I think that was a councillor. So are we in agreement to just leave it the way it is, Councillor Cross?
We're gonna take that out, right?
That they're not allowed to attend a meeting electronically?
Oh, no. We'll leave it as is.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted, so you're okay with leaving it the way it is?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham?
Leave it as it is, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so clause 3.6C, who is municipality? I believe that's council, but what's your thoughts on that, Councillor Cross?
Can you repeat that?
In clause 3.6C, who is the municipality? And my thought on that is that the municipality is council.
Okay, I wasn't sure what that meant, but okay.
What is that?
Cindy has her hand up.
Hi, Cindy.
So just for clarity, that actually comes directly from the Municipal Act.
Okay.
So when it says carry out other duties required under the Act and other duties assigned by the municipality,
Yeah.
depends on who you're talking about. If you're talking about the CAO, then yes, council would be the municipality. They would direct the CAO to do something. If you were talking about the roads equipment operator, no, that would be the road superintendent that would tell that particular employee what to do, not council.
So is that the Act, though? Is that in the Act?
So that whole section, if you look in the Municipal Act, that's word for word from the Municipal Act.
But does that apply to the road superintendent and the guy who drives in the truck? Is that specified in the Act?
It's staff. It's what staff's role is.
Okay.
So, yes. But
Okay.
the question is, who is the municipality? I'm assuming that means who would be the person that would direct the staff?
So, yeah.
It would depend on which staff member, who the municipality would be. Whether it's, essentially it would be that person's supervisor. But it could be council, if you're talking about the CAO, it could be somebody else.
So it would be the immediate supervisor, is that correct?
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
But if we're copying this right out of the Municipal Act, can't really change the word.
Yeah. As long as we know who it is. Okay, Councillor Shipham?
Could we maybe put in brackets direct supervisor behind or in front of, or however you do that so that people know?
Or because council wouldn't be a supervisor, right? So how do we word it so that it includes council for the CAO or clerk treasurer? And the way our structure sits now, it would also be our road superintendent, that would report to council.
Correct.
But after that, like, Jacob and, Dean and, report to other individuals, so that would be their supervisors. I'm thinking, upper level or next level or something like that, so that, we don't have to be specific, but we know that it is their supervisory level. So, carry out other duties. I'm just throwing this out there. I haven't thought about it. My mouth's just going. So, you know, carry out other duties required under the Act, and other duties assigned by their immediate supervisor.
Chain of
no.
command?
Pardon?
Chain of command?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. By the carry other duties required under the Act, and other duties assigned by. Say, how can you think of a way to word that so it sounds correct? I can't roll it off my tongue.
In the private sector, the statement would say by the employer.
Okay. But
And essentially, the municipality is an employer, and it's implied that whomever the supervisor, the immediate supervisor is, would be the person that would assign. It's like me saying to my admin assistant that I need her to, I don't know, wash the counter, clean the counter. That's not in her list of job duties under her job description, but I'm asking her to clean the counter because it's
okay.
dirty. So it's,
My job description says, and other duties as assigned. That's
Yeah.
all it says.
yeah.
That's fine in it, right?
So
I think
that's
it's
kind of what
pretty
this
much
is implying here is, and other duties as assigned.
How about just taken off by the municipality?
Well,
Yeah.
the problem is this comes directly from the municipal act.
Okay,
So if
but,
you want me to clarify it, I think I'd have to put something in brackets as Councillor Shipham
Okay.
indicated, because it's word for word from the municipal act.
okay, by the next level of command?
Yep, do that. However,
That'll
you'd like,
do, Councilor Shipman?
Sure.
Okay. Councilor Olmsted, you okay with that one?
Yeah, I am.
And Councilor Cross?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Next one is clause 4.23. 4.23. Oh, summer and December. So currently it says during the months of July, August, and December, there shall be only one meeting of council, which shall be held on a date and time, and in such a location as is chosen by the clerks. All right. So we haven't done this for a couple of years. I remember doing it when I was a counselor, but not very often, right? So if this is in here, do we have to abide by it, Cindy? Or does it just give us the ability to do it if we want to?
it gives you the ability to do it if you want to. I would probably clarify the clause a little bit, you know, say something about council's decision or something along those lines, just so that it be clear that council decides whether they want to have one meeting, 2 meetings, all that kind of stuff.
And it should probably be dependent on, what is before council, or
Right.
what needs to be, what needs to be before council, or what is before council at the time, so that if you have to meet requirements, then you can't really not hold a meeting, right? Especially if it's for an RFP or RFQ or, well, anything really, anything to do with the public, because we're here to serve the public. Any suggestions on wording? Okay. Hearing. For July, August, December, there shall only be one meeting of council, dependent on, I don't know how to put that, depending on what's in front of council at the time. Councillor Shipham?
We could maybe word it to say that in July, it was July, August, right? And December?
Yes.
At the discretion of council, meetings will be held based on what is before council at that time.
I'm good with that.
Like that.
Councillor Cross?
I'm good with that.
And Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so I'm okay with that as well. Did you get that, Cindy?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Next item here is 6.1.1, and it should it be the mayor's decision that is final, not the clerk? So 6.1.1. It shall be the duty of the clerk to prepare the agenda of all meetings in consultation with the mayor. Where there is a dispute about including or excluding an item from the agenda, the clerk's decision shall be final. My opinion, I think that because, all our staff basically, because they live the roles every day, and they're the ones that are having most of the contact with, excuse me, our public. I would think that they're more aware of what needs to go on the agenda to meet timelines or for whatever reason. I'm sure, I know my relationship with the clerk right now is I've never been turned down for something that I thought was important to be put on the agenda. I guess that could happen, but I don't believe it would. I still feel it should remain the decision of the clerk. Councillor Cross, your thoughts?
I agree. They know what's most important and what's coming up more so than we would with their time schedule. So I agree.
Councillor Olmsted, your thoughts?
I'm on the fence, actually. Yeah, because I'm actually on the fence.
Okay. Councillor Shipham?
No, I agree, because they live it day in, day out, and they know what's coming up and what needs to be done by a specific time frame. So I think it should be the clerk.
Yeah. And they're presenting us with an agenda for discussion to get directives from us on how we would like to proceed with what's put on the agenda, right? Okay, so I think we'll leave that one as the clerk's decision. What's the next one here? Following consultation of thoughts of ideas with staff. Okay. Electronic meetings need to be clarified and updated to current procedural bylaw decisions. What does that mean? Electronic meetings need to be clarified and updated to current procedural bylaw decisions. I don't know what that means. Hello, Cindy?
So the clause that's currently written in the new version of the procedural bylaw not include as much information in detail, like for instance, that we wait 15 minutes if somebody internet goes out and things like that. That is not included in this new version of the procedural bylaw. So it's my opinion, and council can make the final decision, that all of the information that we've prepared essentially because of COVID and we've gone to electronic meetings, that information should be transferred into the newer version of the procedural bylaw, so it's all in there, and replace the very general clause that's in the current new version of the procedural bylaw.
Agreed.
This was written in a non-COVID time, right?
Yes, it was written in 2019.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea that, and with our internet connections and things getting bumped off and lightning knocking out the tower and, whatever, I think it's more appropriate to allow a counselor 5 minutes to reconnect, or maybe they'll stop using video and just use the audio, call in by telephone, to allow them to attend the meeting. Whereas if we didn't allow that and we proceeded, then there would be information lost that counselor wouldn't be aware of, right? So I'm in agreement to transferring the stuff over. Councillor Cross, your thoughts?
I'm in agreement.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted, your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely needs to be updated, for sure.
Okay. And Councillor Shipham?
I agree.
Okay, thank you. Next item here is a suggestion would be for the council approval report to remove from the agenda. All expenditures should be included in the budget, which they are. If an expenditure is not included in the budget, the procedural bylaws should be followed and council be made aware or authorization provided depending on the circumstances of the purchase. This was something that Mr. Cruff talked about during 2 meetings, and he also talked about setting budgets, but that's not this. So, Councillor Cross, your thoughts on this?
I kind of go both ways with this one. If we've already made a budget, why are we looking at each thing? I like looking at it, though, to educate myself on what is happening, not necessarily why it's happening. But overall, in the end of it, the decision's made by the clerk to make sure everything's paid and that that she's making sure that everything is appropriate. So do we really need to go through this every meeting? Probably not.
Okay.
So I'm okay with it being taken out.
Yeah. Okay, we do have a budget, and it says in here that if there's something out of place or will be made aware, an authorization shall be provided depending on the circumstances of the purchase. So anything that doesn't, that falls outside of the budget, let's say, I don't know, the grader ran off a cliff, okay, and we need to get a new grader. So they can just go buy a new grader. We don't have a budget item for it. Shouldn't even say that, but something like that would have to come to council to make us aware of that decision, or to ask permission to make that purchase. But if it's just following the budget and what's set in the budget, then it should be as it is until something comes outside of that realm. Councillor Olmsted, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I agree. I just would like to know of any anomalies, and it allows for that.
Yeah. Councillor Shipham?
I agree.
Okay. Okay, so Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda should be added to the council agenda composition. So I'm thinking that, there would be an item on the agenda for, well, a call to staff, to council, and it will be a resolution to adopt the agenda as presented. And if there's any changes to the agenda, which we have had, okay, then that be added to the agenda, and then that be accepted as the agenda as presented. Right? So your thoughts, Councillor Cross?
I'm fine with that as long as it happens at the beginning.
Yeah, that's
That
when it
would be important. I do worry, though, if it's something that we were able to prepare for, though. So there could be, but I would assume that something that's coming on the agenda like that would be of vital importance to have a discussion on immediately. So I'm okay with it.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted?
Oh, I'm okay. Yeah, we need to be able to change. Yep.
Okay. Councillor Shipham, your thoughts?
I agree with it.
Okay. All right, so next item is petitions and delegations. Does not have a timeline when these must be into the clerk in the proposed procedural bylaw. Will it be up to the clerk to determine whether it will be acceptable to put on the agenda or not? Okay, Councillor Croft, your thoughts?
I believe that this would be up to the clerk to determine, depending on the size of the agenda, what is happening. Is it important? Could it wait until the next meeting? I feel that we need to trust our clerk in making the right decision, and that is up to her.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted?
Well, it's entirely up to the clerk. She knows everything that needs to be discussed and then timeline.
All righty. Councillor Shipham? Your
I
thoughts?
agree with Councillor Olmsted and Councillor Cross. It should be the clerk's decision.
Okay.
Mayor Pennell, just before we move on, can I just ask a
Absolutely.
question, a hypothetical?
Yep.
So if what this question was in terms of, right now in the current procedural bylaw, it says that anybody that wants to be on the agenda has to provide the information to the clerk by noon the Thursday before the council meeting. There's no stipulation in the proposed or the new version of the procedural bylaw. So if somebody gave something to the clerk on the Monday, so the council package has already been provided to council, it would be acceptable to council if the clerk thought it was necessary, based on what you've just discussed, to allow that person. We'd have to do an amendment, as we just previously discussed, make an addition to this. That would be okay. If the clerk felt that it was essential that it be talked about at that current meeting, the reason I'm asking is, as has been previously mentioned, it would not allow very much time for council to prepare or to prepare at all in terms of the delegation. Now, that being said, delegations don't have to be discussed. It's just somebody making a presentation. They don't have to be discussed at that meeting. I just want to make sure that council understands the full situation.
Personally, I still like the idea of Thursday at noon, but because it gives, it's on the agenda. It gives council a chance to look it up on the internet, do a little research. What's another municipality doing? But I'm open if three of us have suggested that it's up to the clerk, then I'm okay with it being up to the clerk too. I just, I wouldn't want, anyone who wanted to, have an item put on the agenda, and say did it on Monday to think that they were gonna get on it, anything other than, that's nice, thank you very much, okay? Because there could be, no real discussion on it because people, counselors might have different levels of understanding and expertise regarding to that subject, and an appropriate conversation or discussion I don't think could be held with that much notice. If you get your email at night and you check it when you get home or in the morning when you check it, and your meeting is the next night, then there's not a lot of chance to be prepared for it. But I'll go with the quote. Sounds like it's 3-4 up to the clerk. All right. Next item on the agenda is council packages need to be delivered 5 days before the council meeting in the proposed procedural bylaw. That would mean that the council package would need to be delivered by the end of the day on Thursday. The cutoff time for submitting something would be put on the agenda, would then have to change and be included in the proposed procedural bylaw to Wednesday at noon. Councillor Cross, your thoughts?
I feel that there's such a short period of time to have everything prepared. I don't like the idea of cutting that time. I don't know what to say to that one.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted?
I would appreciate having an extra day. I'm
You would
okay with the change.
Okay, to have it by Wednesday? Is that correct?
Yeah, have our packages by Thursday, yeah.
Okay, Councillor Shipham?
I'm okay with the change as long as it doesn't overly burden the clerk with trying to get everything ready to go a day early. And again, this might bring up the other, like the adoption to changes would probably be used more because you've lost the day. I don't know if that would change anything that way or not. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. I have a thought. I always have a thought, right? My thought is that we already hear of people who think that Thursday at noon is too soon to close off being allowed to present to council. And if we do it at Wednesday at noon, it's even sooner than that, right? So I can understand and I appreciate that people have lives and do things over the evenings and on weekends. So if they get the council package in their mailbox on Friday, then they really only have 2 days on the weekend. Well, you have Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to read it, but some people work, or some people are farming, have other things to do. So you have to take your time to make that effort to do that. But that's part of why we were elected as councillors. And those council packages make us aware of what's coming up, so we can have a look at it, who's suggesting what, who's going to be presenting on the agenda, if anyone is, and it gives us a chance to prepare. I think if we close the submissions at noon on Wednesday, it doesn't give our constituents or ratepayers an appropriate time to put something on the agenda for discussion. That's my thought. But I'll go with the group. Cindy, does that raise any issues for you?
No, I'm just, what if we had a happy medium? To
Okay.
give council an extra day, instead of at noon on Wednesday, it would be by 4 o'clock or like the end of the day on Wednesday. Not 4 o'clock, but the end of the day. So that it would give people the evening. So when I came in on Thursday, I would have all the whatever came in Wednesday night per se, you know, I would have Thursday the entire day to prepare that, put it into the agenda if it fits, et cetera.
So basically by 8 o'clock Thursday morning, right?
Correct, but I wouldn't want to say by 8 o'clock because people would abuse that. I would say by the end of the day, Wednesday kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just saying that way it would give council that extra day, the Friday, and still allow the public to submit things. So, you know, sort of meeting halfway.
I'm thinking people will think the end of the day is 4 o'clock, but, I don't know.
Well, that's the end of my day. That's why I said 4
Yeah.
o'clock. But
Yeah. Okay, I'm okay with that as well. It is splitting the difference. So, Councillor Cross, you okay with that?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
Councillor Shipley?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds like end of the day on Thursday.
Wednesday.
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 Yeah. Okay.
End of the day Wednesday.
Okay.
What, Monday? I don't know. Okay, so next one here is a suggestion would be for council packages to be delivered electronically, or if a paper copy is requested, then council members can pick up the council packages in mailboxes at the municipal office. This would save time and money for staff. Okay. Any comments on that, Councillor Cross?
Oh, yes, I do. I firmly believe that we should be picking up our own packages. I don't feel that we should be having to have Cindy deliver them. It's not that far out of the way. I think if we even, I have suggested this once before, if we even had mailboxes out front with little locks, and they could get them even outside at their convenience, this could possibly save money for having to pay mileage, and it won't impose into cutting Cindy's day shorter as well for having to deliver them. And or if people don't even want them, they can get them online. It's been working out pretty well for me so far. So, and I've been picking up my package pretty much all year. So I'm in full agreement with this.
Councillor Olmsted, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm in full agreement.
Okay. And Councillor Shipley?
The only concern I have is because of the way our internet goes in and out, that you might not be able to get your package or all of it or something. But I do agree that we should be able to like come and pick up our own packages if we can get a mailbox or something put up. But yeah.
Okay, I agree that if someone wants electronic copy, great. But if someone wants a paper copy, that's great as well. I'll continue to request a paper copy, and I don't mind picking it up at the office as long as there's some place for me to do that, because I don't have the option to be at the office between 8:30 and 4. So we'd have to have some kind of a like a mailbox or something outside, right, that I could do that. Okay, and I do agree that it would save time and money and drive around the old dirty roads in the spring and fall and icy roads in the wintertime, so it's a little bit safer as well. And that was all for this one, I guess. Okay. was long, wasn't it? Okay. Next item on the agenda I have here is J, renewal of the group insurance policy, and we have a resolution for that. As you recall, in our last regular meeting, we had a representative, Greg, is that his name?
Sean.
Okay. Come to the meeting and explained the changes and the increase of 15% rather than 32%. So anyway, I'll need a mover and a seconder before we can discuss this. So Councillor Shipman, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Olmsted, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Shipman, second by Councillor Olmsted, that Council hereby authorize the renewal of the group insurance policy with Canada Life as is, with no change to existing benefits, and includes 50% increase in cost. Discussion, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
Councillor Shipman?
No discussion.
Okay. I don't either have discussion as well, but I know he said that the next year would be a time when we would renew the policy, and it would be a time for to get additional quotes at that time. And he sounded sincere with reasoning for his increase and that he had been working for us. And he showed us what increases in savings we had over the past years as well. So I'm going to call for a vote on this one to authorize this payment to the Canada Life. Councillor Cross, can I get your vote? Yes or no, please?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, can I get your vote, please?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman, can I get your vote, please?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So this resolution is also carried. Thank you, everyone. Next item on the agenda is item number K. It's municipal office and landfill Christmas hours. I know it's September, but we got to do this now so that everyone's aware of it and we can post it where it needs to be posted. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this as well. Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Shipman, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Cross, seconded by Councillor Shipman, that Council hereby authorizes that over the 2021 Christmas season, the municipal office shall be closed at 1 p.m. on Friday, December 24th through Friday, December 31st, 2021, and will reopen as usual on Monday, January 3rd at 8:30 a.m. And further, that the landfill will be closed on Saturday, December 25th and Saturday, January the 1st. There will be regular landfill hours on Tuesday, December 28th, 2021. Any discussion on this, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
Can we have the hours extended on Tuesdays? Because people can't get to the dump before 4 o'clock in the wintertime. If we don't have the option on Saturday, then we need a little bit more time in the evening. So stay till 7 or something.
So I didn't understand what you're asking, or what you're saying.
Well, because it's closed for 2 Saturdays in a row, but on Tuesdays, it's only open for 3 hours.
Okay.
Right? So I'm thinking that people won't have an opportunity.
Doesn't matter to me. that will be up to the rest of the group. Councillor Cross, your thoughts?
I don't think we've ever done that in the past, and we've always had, I don't know. I think that would be something we should maybe discuss with the people who are working at the landfill, if they could do the extra time. Maybe they already have something, other jobs or other commitments.
Okay, Councillor Olmsted, we've heard from Councillor Olmsted. Councillor Shipham?
I agree that we should maybe check and see if people can actually work the extra hours
Right.
before we go ahead and say, yeah, we're going to do it, just so that we have it covered.
I think it's a good idea that we do this because it is closed for 2 Saturdays, and that will, usually it's cold in December, but not always. So I agree that we should try to extend the landfill hours on the 28th, but let's approach the attendant, whoever it is at that time, to find out if they're in agreement to doing so. I think we should strongly encourage that they do agree. Councillor Shipham?
Cindy, do we have like lights or whatever for like to put up there so that they're not going to be in the dark sitting there waiting for vehicles? So that's another consideration.
Yeah.
If we have to purchase those, I don't know that we want to be doing something like that, but
Yeah, so it's probably going to be dark at 5 o'clock on December
yeah.
28th.
Mhm.
So you don't want them sitting there in the dark waiting for people to show up.
Okay. So it usually closes at 3, right?
4.
4? 4? Okay, thank you. So 4 on Tuesday. That's still not bad, you know. But it's the people who...
Like, I know even for me, like I don't get home till 10 after 5, so there'd be no way that I could get there. But I mean, with a little bit of planning, you can get rid of most of your garbage before everything is going to be closed up. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Yes, Cindy?
How about I discuss it with landfill people, employees that work there, and see if they can come up with a solution. Whether we extend it for maybe just an hour, it'll be twilight. I think it'll be pretty dark by then, but maybe we can come up with some kind of solution to extend it. I don't think 7 o'clock would probably work, because even in the summertime, they only work till 6 o'clock. But
Right.
let me see if they have any suggestions on what we can do because it is going to be closed for 2 Saturdays.
We do have
Thank
power
you.
there. I don't know if it can be utilized to light up the bin area. We also have to be concerned about people backing up to the edge, all right? If people can't see what they're doing, then it could be a pretty mean ride backwards down that hill, right? So we need to be safety conscious in that respect as well. I don't think we can light that area up. But anyway, if we can approach the landfill tenants and get their ideas, I think everyone's agreed to do that. Okay. So we need to bring this back.
Well, I don't know, that's up to council. In all honesty, I don't think it changes anything that's written here. If we extend the hours on Tuesday, then we just advertise that we've extended the hours. If we don't, we don't.
Okay, so do we have a mover and seconder for this one then? We do? Okay, so we've had discussion, so let's call for a vote on you accept the resolution for the office hours and for the landfill. Councillor Cross.
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted.
Yes.
Councillor Shipham.
Yes.
Okay, I vote yes as well, so this resolution is carried as well. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a report from the clerk treasurer, 2021 CT 47, emergency control group meeting summary from August the 25th, 2021. There's also an AMO policy that was attached to this. There was another one sent out today, is that correct? I think that concerned vaccinations, and it mentioned some places, some municipalities who were bringing in a vaccination policy, and I know AMO was kind of promoting that. There was even a piece on the news tonight on TV from, I think it might have been with Sue, but I'm not sure, about what they were going to do. Anyway, so this is the control group meeting summary of what happened on the 25th. Is there anything in there that anybody wants to discuss? Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted?
They gave a few suggestions, and I like the 5.2, the municipal clerk or designate can host the meeting and shall have the ability to mute members of council, just so we don't have, I like that idea. And
Yeah, okay. I think our clerk has that ability right now. Okay.
okay. And then my other one was when we go in council chambers, having 25 members. I think that's fair. I don't think we ever have 25 people at the hall in a not COVID time.
However, our our seating capacity is more than that during normal times, but right now we're still not at normal times. So whatever the policy is when it's time to reopen council meetings, then we'd have to follow that protocol at that time, right?
Yeah.
Are you in agreement?
Well, no, because yes, I am. I was just speaking to some residents that they would like the meetings going back live because they don't have proper internet and can't watch it on the YouTube.
Well, that's
so
kind of too bad.
We did talk about having a pardon?
Talk about having a what?
A hybrid meeting.
I don't know what that is.
So some electronically and some live.
Okay.
So if you don't have good internet, then you can go live, and if you do have good internet, they've been doing that in Toronto ever since the beginning.
Yeah. Well, until, in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, I don't feel comfortable in attending council meetings at this time. We have two viruses that are going crazy. Brand new one just arrived in BC, I think on Monday. It's called MU virus. So we're still hitting 400 to 800 people in Ontario every day. And the protocol hasn't been set yet that would allow us to come back to council chambers. And also, what we talked about a long time ago was that because we had been streaming meetings and people were used to or like the ability to listen to meetings, and that we would have something in place before we came back, that we would be able to have the cameras and microphones in the hall to broadcast. So I believe we've, made some progress in, those areas, but we still don't have the approval from, the, government to do that at this time. Okay. Next item on the agenda is donation of window coverings and sidewalk signs. Okay, so we have a resolution. I'll need a mover and a seconder for this one. So I'm going to ask Councillor Olmsted to move this one,
Okay.
and Councillor Shipman to second it, please.
Okay.
Okay, so we have this resolution, moved by Councillor Olmsted, second by Councillor Shipman, that Council hereby gratefully accepts the generous donation from Sandy Cross of window coverings for the community hall, as well as 2 sidewalk signs for community events, which will be added to the asset listing of the municipality. The window coverings will be mounted in the Calvin Hall windows. So any discussion on this? Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Councillor Shippen.
No discussion.
I just want to thank Sandy for going ahead with this. It's a nice gesture for sure. Sandy, is there anything you want to say? Or?
No, just that I had purchased the other window coverings 2 years back, I believe, and it was suggested that it would look nice to have the rest of the windows looking the same. So I felt that I had started it, so I'd like to finish it. And the 2 sidewalk signs, I thought would be great for when we have, hopefully one day, events happening at the hall again, where it could be put out at the main road to let people know that there is something going on, and maybe even one out in front of the hall. So when we have events happening, that the people who aren't receiving notification through, I don't know, email or on the internet, that they would be aware that something is going on. So that's all.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to call a vote to accept this donation from Sandy. Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Cross, probably pretty obvious, you would vote yes. But
Yes.
I'm going to ask Councillor Cross.
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes as well. And again, I thank you for your generous donation. Make the hall look pretty. Okay. Next item on the list is educational. It's an impact, how the pandemic's impacting property sectors in Ontario. So there was a link there that you could go and have a look. After that, there's information letters. Are there any letters in there that you would like to do anything with, Councillor Cross?
B.
D? Double what?
B. No, B. B
Okay.
as in the city of North Bay.
Okay.
I thought it was a very good letter that was written, and if we can support it, I think we should.
Okay.
Otherwise, no, nothing else was that I wanted to do, just B.
Okay. I also agree that we should support that letter. We still have to note that it's the decision of the Ministry of Long-Term Care, right? That's going to make the decision. But I guess the more support that we can provide for alternatives to the proposed plan and financing and funding is good for us. Hopefully it is anyway. There hasn't been a lot of information shared at all lately, other than a couple articles in the paper by different, mayors and groups, so. But as far as, I'm aware of, there's been no headway at all. Okay. Anything else in there, Councillor Cross?
Just one, and it's not really anything in here, it's just kind of a side note to this. With this letter going out when it did, we get it, and then if we want to support it, we're pretty much close to 2 weeks behind, I would say. Maybe, I might be wrong with that. I wish there was some way that we would know about some of these letters ahead of time so that our support letters are going in almost at the same time so that it really gets hit home instead of kind of, oh, there's another one of those letters again. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think we can do it, but it would be nice if we were able to send in our support letters for things like this, especially so close to home, earlier.
Right. Unfortunately, though, our meetings fall when they do, and
Yes,
it would have to be a council decision to provide that letter of support, right?
Yes, I know.
Okay, but
That's
good.
nothing else.
I agree with you as well. Anything in there for you, Councillor Olmsted?
No, that's the only one I want to support.
Okay. And Councillor Shipham?
I was wondering about supporting the OHIP eye care.
Oh, yeah. That's me. I think they're on strike now, right? Or
Yeah.
I guess they call it a strike. So I would like to support that as well. We have quite a few seniors in our area that probably rely on OHIP and whatever for their eye care. And if it's not being paid for, then they're probably not going to have it, right? Because a lot of people on fixed incomes and just can't afford to spend that extra money. So I think we should support this as well. Anything else, Councillor Shipham?
No, that was it.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is information and letters available, and we don't have any at this time. All the new business is kind of mute because we're not going to do that right now. Accounts approval report. There was one in our council package, and then we had a second one sent to us today. Has everyone had a chance to view those yet? Okay, so have a resolution in front of us. I need a mover and a seconder to move forward with this. Councillor Olmsted, could you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Cross, could you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
All right, thank you. We have a resolution moved by Councillor Olmsted and seconded by Councillor Cross that the disbursements dated September the 9th, 2021, in the amount of $78,621.07, and September the 14th, 2021, in the amount of $9,689.83 be hereby authorized and passed for payment. Any discussion, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
And Councillor Shipham?
No discussion.
Okay, I'm going to call for a vote on accepting these disbursements be passed for payment. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, and Councillor Shipham, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well, so this resolution is carried as well. Thank you, everyone, for that. Okay, so next item on the agenda is the closed portion. And that this portion of the meeting be now closed under Municipal Act 20, 2001, as per section 239-2B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, in section 239-2F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, for the purpose of considering confidential workplace matters as well as road use agreements under section 239-2D, labor relations or employee negotiations regarding the landfill attendant position. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Cross, can you move this one?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Councillor Olmsted, can you second it, please?
Yes, it can.
Okay. Okay, so any discussion? Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
Councillor Shiplin?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to ask for a vote for permission to move into a closed meeting at this time. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
And Councillor Shiplin?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So we're going to move into the closed meeting at 9:43. Thank you, everyone.